As Becky prepared to walk down the aisle on her wedding day, emotions flooded her heart. While surrounded by friends and family under Alaska's mountain sky, she couldn't shake the absence of her late son Tristan, who had been taken from her unexpectedly at the age of 19. In honor of Tristan's memory, Becky saved him a seat, knowing he would be there in spirit. A wooden placard on the seat bore a poignant message: "I'm in heaven for your wedding, so what shall I do? I'll come down to earth to spend it with you. So save me a seat, just one empty chair. You may not see me, but I will be there." Little did Becky know, her son's presence would be felt in an unexpected way. Moments before the ceremony, her groom, Kelly, orchestrated a surprise that would bring tears to Becky's eyes. He called forward Jacob Kilby, the then 21-year-old man who had received Tristan's heart in a transplant on October 21, 2015. The meeting between Becky and Jacob was a powerful moment of connection, uniting two individuals bound by the same beating heart. Through this serendipitous encounter, Becky felt the profound impact of her son's legacy and a continuation of his life through Jacob. As they exchanged tears and embraced, Becky realized that Tristan's spirit lived on not only in her heart but also in the life of the young man before her. In that moment, amidst the joy and sorrow, Becky found solace in a deeper understanding of the enduring power of love and connection. Jacob's presence at the wedding was a testament to the deep connection between individuals brought together by the gift of life. Flying all the way from San Diego to Alaska to stand as Kelly's sixth groomsman, Jacob arrived as a symbol of hope and renewal on Becky and Kelly's special day. Despite having exchanged messages and spoken on the phone with Jacob before, Becky had never met him in person. The surprise orchestrated by Kelly, captured by wedding photographer Amber Landfair, captured the raw emotion of their first meeting. The images revealed Becky's pure happiness as she saw Jacob, her son's heart recipient. Overwhelmed with emotion, she embraced Jacob as if he were her own son, listening to the sound of her son's heartbeat through the stethoscope. Reflecting on the moment, Becky described how she was overcome with joy and gratitude, expressing her astonishment at the surprise orchestrated by Kelly. For Becky, who admitted to being someone who typically uncovered surprises, Kelly's ability to keep Jacob's attendance a secret was truly remarkable. Kelly confessed that planning the surprise took months of meticulous preparation and a bit of cunning to keep Jacob hidden until the perfect moment. Despite the challenges, the emotional impact of their meeting and the shared connection between Becky, Jacob, and Tristan's beating heart made it all worthwhile. Kelly shared with the BBC that he had been planning the surprise with Jacob for about 4 to 5 months prior to the wedding. He expressed admiration for Jacob, describing him as an amazing young man. Kelly emphasized the importance of organ donation, highlighting how it saves lives and has changed theirs forever. Recalling the emotional meeting between Becky and Jacob at the ceremony, Kelly acknowledged that there wasn't a dry eye in sight, even though he received some playful complaints for causing tears and messing up people's makeup. While Jacob's presence meant the world to the bride and groom, he too was deeply moved by the experience. Jacob described the day as surreal, heartwarming, and incredibly emotional, emphasizing the love shared between the two families as they joined together. Becky expressed her heartfelt gratitude to Jacob for making the journey of over 3,000 miles to attend the wedding. She described the surprise as the best gift and most amazing moment ever, thanking Jacob for caring for Tristan's heart and for being present on their special day. After watching this story, what do you think of? Then there is another story about a test for the new bride. Let's expect what will happen. Angela and Tommy Redford, a wealthy couple from the US, took a surprising step to assess the true intentions of their son's less wealthy fiancé. They disguised themselves as poor individuals to meet her and her family, unaware of the unexpected turn events would soon take. Angela and Tommy Redford were well regarded as prosperous business owners in their social circles. While their fortune hadn't quite reached 8 digits, it afforded them a life of comfort and luxury. Yet, their greatest source of pride lay in their children. After 28 years of marriage, they cherished their sons, Enzo and Arthur, above all else. Enzo and Arthur, though alike in appearance, diverged significantly in personality. Enzo was prudent and aimed to emulate his parents, preparing diligently to take over his father's business. Conversely, Arthur embraced independence and held unique perspectives. Enzo's marriage to a woman chosen by his parents, Maria, did not unfold seamlessly. Despite Maria's sophistication, Angela and Tommy sensed a lack of genuine connection. Concerned about Maria's intentions, they devised a plan to observe her behavior without the influence of wealth. Disguised, Angela and Tommy visited Maria's family, where they were surprised by her genuine warmth and hospitality. Maria treated them kindly, regardless of their financial status, and Angela and Tommy admired her sincerity. Their experience reshaped Angela and Tommy's perception of Maria. They recognized her genuine affection for their son and embraced their son's marriage wholeheartedly. They understood that love transcended wealth and social status, affirming their trust in Enzo's judgment. The marriage bolstered Tommy's business as Enzo's father-in-law owned a chain of restaurants that became clients of Tommy's company. Tommy couldn't have been prouder. Not only was his son marrying into a respectable family, but it also brought him closer to achieving the 8-digit bank account he desired. However, Arthur refused to follow in his brother's footsteps. He rejected his parents' attempts to dictate his dating life and refused to view relationships as a commercial strategy for his father's benefit. His independence became evident when he announced his intention to marry a woman who had recently graduated in business administration and was venturing into the demanding business world. To the dismay of Mr. and Mrs. Redford, the woman hailed from a family farm in rural Oklahoma. Angela, in particular, harbored reservations about Arthur's in-laws, considering them as rustic individuals. Her refined taste and social circle didn't align with the notion of mingling with people of modest means. She perceived Arthur's choice as a betrayal, feeling as though he had turned his back on their values. Angela's concerns escalated, convinced that the young woman was only interested in Arthur's wealth and his potential stake in the family business. Despite her misgivings, Angela didn't attempt to form a connection with the girl, convinced of her ulterior motives. Angela shared her apprehensions with Tommy, and they grappled with the dilemma of intervening in their son's decisions. They contemplated whether to prevent Arthur from making what they perceived as a foolish mistake. As Arthur's parents plotted to prevent what they saw as an impending disaster, Arthur himself blissfully continued planning the engagement celebration dinner where he would introduce his family to Eliana's parents. Ken and Eliana had met during post-grad studies, and although her parents, Lincoln and Teresa Jones, were indeed Oklahoma farmers, they held no sense of inferiority or discomfort regarding Arthur's family's wealth. Arthur's invitation to dinner was warmly received by the Joneses, who were delighted to be included in their son-in-law's social circle. Believing Arthur to be a kind and polite individual, they naturally assumed his parents would be similarly amiable. However, Angela and Tommy were resolute in their determination to prevent Arthur from pursuing his relationship with the farmer's daughter. Tommy proposed a simple plan: they would attend the dinner dressed more modestly than usual and fabricate a story about their declining financial situation, testing the Joneses' true intentions. Initially hesitant about the plan's tastelessness, Angela eventually agreed, seeing it as a necessary sacrifice to uphold the Redford family's reputation and values. Little did they anticipate that their ill-conceived joke would soon become a reality. On the night of the dinner, the Joneses arrived promptly at the restaurant, only to find Arthur and Eliana already there, enjoying a bottle of wine. As time passed and they indulged in their second bottle of wine, the Joneses waited for the arrival of the Redfords, the groom's parents. Arthur, increasingly concerned, checked his phone every 5 minutes, but his messages to his mom went unanswered. He couldn't shake the feeling that his parents were purposefully delaying, perhaps to snub his future in-laws. Nearly 45 minutes past the appointed time, Angela and Tommy Redford finally appeared in the corridor, much to Arthur's surprise. He had expected them to arrive dressed to impress, adorned in their finest clothes and jewelry. Instead, Angela wore old, plain sandals and carried an unbranded purse, while Tommy had exchanged his tailored suit for a simpler, older one. Gone were the polished appearances, they now seemed far removed from the image of high society couples. Tommy tried to appear nonchalant, explaining they had to walk there, while Arthur couldn't hide his exasperation, questioning why they hadn't simply driven. Angela brushed it off, claiming the car wasn't in working order. As dinner commenced, Tommy showed little interest in Eliana's family, failing to inquire about their interests or occupations. Instead, he seized every opportunity to lament about the challenges his company faced. Throughout the meal, the Redfords monopolized the conversation, focusing solely on themselves and their business woes, oblivious to the discomfort they were causing. It became evident to Arthur that his parents' behavior was far from the impression he had hoped to convey to Eliana's family. Their self-centeredness and lack of consideration for others left a sour note on what was meant to be an auspicious occasion. As the conversation took a tense turn, Arthur found himself increasingly perplexed. Despite his attempts to steer the discussion in a more amiable direction, his parents remained preoccupied, seemingly unable to grasp the tone of the evening. Tommy, in an attempt at humor, jestingly mentioned the prospect of losing everything and relocating to Oklahoma to become their new neighbors. While Arthur had anticipated his parents putting on a show, he never expected them to stoop so low. Throughout the evening, it became apparent that the Redfords and the Joneses had little in common. The expectations and demeanor of Eliana's parents clashed starkly with the facade the Redfords were presenting. Lincoln and Teresa discerned that the Redfords were merely playing roles, while they themselves remained sincere. Despite the Redfords' perceived rudeness, Lincoln and Teresa resolved to treat them with understanding and respect, honoring their future son-in-law. Before departing, Lincoln extended a gesture of goodwill, offering his support to Tommy if needed. However, Tommy, engulfed in his own worries, brushed off the gesture, lamenting the magnitude of his financial troubles. Upon returning home, Arthur confronted his parents, questioning their behavior. He demanded to know if they were ill or if they had deliberately sought to embarrass him in front of Eliana and her parents. Angela, in a fit of frustration, discarded her dress and tossed her purse aside, while Tommy, visibly distressed, reflected on his actions. In a moment of candid advice, Angela urged her son to heed their counsel, warning against continuing his relationship with Eliana, fearing the consequences for the family business. It was a sobering moment for Arthur, torn between his love for Eliana and his family's expectations. Tommy echoed his wife's sentiments, asserting that Eliana and her parents were merely social climbers, hoping to profit from the marriage. He adamantly opposed the wedding, his tone leaving no room for objections. However, Arthur refused to be cowed as Enzo had been before him. His response struck a blow to Tommy's pride. He wouldn't sacrifice his authenticity and love for Eliana for the sake of wealth or reputation. In a fit of fury, Arthur stormed out, packing his bags and seeking refuge at Eliana's home. Angela and Tommy initially dismissed it as a momentary outburst, expecting Arthur to return home soon. However, as days passed with no sign of his return, they began to realize the gravity of the situation. Arthur's absence served as a stark reminder of the rift that had developed within the family. Angela, gazing into her son's empty room, felt the weight of regret for the first time in a long while. She lamented the loss of her son and questioned whether she could have handled the situation differently. Meanwhile, Tommy remained steadfast in his tough approach, officially appointing Enzo as the new company director to test Arthur's resolve in the face of adversity. To Tommy's surprise, Arthur proceeded with the wedding despite their disapproval. The celebration, held in a modest ballroom in Manhattan, lacked the presence of Arthur's parents, who chose to stand by their convictions rather than attend. Though it pained them to do so, they wanted to make a statement, showing their disagreement with their son's choices and unwillingness to endorse his decisions blindly. 4 years later, Eliana and Arthur remained happily married, settling into their new home in a different neighborhood. Throughout this time, they maintained minimal contact with Angela and Tommy, preferring to spend their time visiting Teresa and Lincoln on their farm. Despite the difference in financial status, Teresa and Lincoln cherished their son-in-law, valuing his character and dedication. Arthur, independent of his parents' financial support or influence, had carved out a successful career as a manager in a promising company. Eliana, meanwhile, managed the accounting for her parents' firm. Together, they led a modest lifestyle, covering their expenses and saving diligently. Despite the distance, Arthur harbored no resentment toward his parents. He remained in touch with his brother and made efforts to involve his parents in his life, albeit cautiously, sensing their lingering disapproval of Eliana. Though Angela and Tommy no longer openly displayed animosity toward her, Arthur felt they had yet to fully accept her into the family. The definitive rupture in relations between the two families occurred when Eliana became pregnant. Overjoyed, Arthur called his father to share the wonderful news, only to be met with a controlled and cold reaction. Concerned, Arthur pressed his father, but the conversation took a somber turn as Tommy revealed Angela had suffered a heart attack and was in the hospital. Suddenly, Arthur's elation gave way to worry for his mother's health. Despite the strained relationship, he couldn't ignore the gravity of the situation. As Angela faced a challenging road to recovery, Arthur grappled with the complexities of family dynamics and the enduring bonds that tied them together, despite their differences. Arthur rushed to the hospital to be with his mother as soon as he learned of Angela's heart attack. It became clear that her stress was compounded by a series of bad decisions made by Enzo, which jeopardized the family company. Enzo's mismanagement had plunged the company into financial turmoil, resulting in frozen bank accounts and an IRS investigation. Angela's release from the hospital marked the beginning of a tumultuous period for the Redfords, who found themselves under scrutiny by the city's business elites. Despite their discouragement and sadness, fate dealt the Redfords another devastating blow. While driving from Oklahoma to New York, Eliana's parents were involved in a fatal accident, leaving Eliana grief-stricken. Arthur, torn between his parents' financial crisis and the loss of his beloved in-laws, remained steadfast by Eliana's side during her darkest moments. In the aftermath of her parents' deaths, Eliana struggled to come to terms with her grief, retreating into isolation and forgetting about her pregnancy. Arthur remained a pillar of support, never wavering in his commitment to her. 2 months later, Arthur finally found the strength to address the legal matters concerning Eliana's inheritance. Despite numerous attempts by the family lawyer to reach him, Arthur had been preoccupied with Eliana's well-being. To his astonishment, he learned that Eliana had inherited a reasonably sized farm and a substantial savings account, meticulously built over the years by Teresa and Lincoln through disciplined financial management. Arthur, who had always remained grounded, now found himself the owner of significant assets, a testament to the legacy of his late in-laws. As he navigated the complexities of his newfound responsibilities, Arthur reflected on the profound impact Teresa and Lincoln had on his life, grateful for their unwavering love and foresight. Tommy and Angela were left speechless upon learning of Eliana's substantial inheritance. They couldn't fathom how a family that appeared so modest could possess such wealth. Reacting swiftly, they removed Enzo from his leadership position within the company, offering the role to Arthur. In their minds, this move served dual purposes, revitalizing the business and persuading Eliana to utilize her inheritance to rescue the family's failing enterprise. However, the Redfords' plans unraveled further when they were compelled to sell their grand house to cover the mounting interest on the company's debts. The blow to their pride was palpable. Arthur empathized with his parents' plight but explained his inability to salvage the company. Taking over would only entail extinguishing fires ignited by the previous administration, with no funds for investment. Tommy, incredulous, couldn't comprehend Arthur's reluctance. In his eyes, Arthur was now wealthier than them, courtesy of Eliana's inheritance. Yet, Arthur maintained that the inheritance rightfully belonged to Eliana, refusing to exploit it for the family's benefit without her consent. That evening, Arthur delicately broached the topic with Eliana, emphasizing the importance of her decision-making. He offered her the space and time she needed to weigh her options. Eliana, with a hint of irony, remarked on the irony of the situation. Her family's modest farm now held the key to her in-laws' financial woes. Weeks passed without a definitive response from Eliana, while the company's debts continued to mount, leaving its liquidity perilously low. As tensions escalated and financial pressures intensified, the Redfords found themselves at a crossroads, grappling with the uncertain future of their family business. Finally, Tommy made a desperate call to his son, conveying Angela's fragile health condition on the brink of another heart attack. He implored Arthur to intervene, questioning Eliana's intentions and urging her to make the necessary investments in the company. However, Arthur remained silent, having lost hope in his wife's willingness to help after years of mistreatment. On a scorching afternoon, a call from Tommy's lawyer brought unexpected relief. The company had been saved. With trembling hands and tearful eyes, Tommy and Angela celebrated the news, cracking open a bottle of champagne as if they had won the lottery. Arriving at the legal department office, they were greeted by Arthur and Eliana, assuming they understood Eliana's decision to assist them. However, the truth unveiled itself in a startling revelation. Eliana wasn't offering a loan but proposing to buy 90% of the company's stock at a bargain due to recent setbacks. This would make her the new owner, with Tommy and Angela relinquishing control of the company they had built. The proposal promised financial stability but stripped them of their lavish lifestyle and control over the company's profits. Tommy, overcome with shock and disbelief, realized the magnitude of their misjudgment and mistreatment of Eliana and her parents. They were forced to confront the consequences of their actions and accept Eliana's offer, knowing it was their only lifeline. Deep down, the Redfords recognized Eliana's unwavering support as a rare lifeline, ensuring financial security for the rest of their lives. Despite their remorse and regret, they found solace in the unexpected redemption brought forth by Eliana's gesture of forgiveness and generosity. Though they were far from the 8 digits they had once dreamed of, Eliana and Arthur saw a new opportunity to rebuild the company together. With Eliana's education and Arthur's expertise, they envisioned a future where they could pass the company on to their child one day. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like. You may also enjoy the video appearing on your screen now. Have a great day, and see you in the next video. The above is today's story. If you like it, please subscribe and like it. See you next time.